Hey everybody, this is the LEGO Star Wars solo movie Moloch's Landspeeder set, and let me go ahead and get the main figure and a couple other things into the speeder itself so you can see everything in context. This is a repulsor lift equipped vehicle, so when it's active it's going to be hovering above the ground, and in the real model here, LEGO has just approximated that function by giving you a set of wheels to hold it up off the ground. Now, those are far enough in that from most angles, unless you get all the way down here to the ground, you don't see those wheels, and they just do their job. And they're nice and low profile. They let you roll back and forth, and because they don't have any tires on them, they're kind of slippy, so you can just slide the thing around and you can have it do its drifting turns and such, which makes sense. The build for this was actually pretty cool. It was not the typical mundane process of, there we go, got that a little bit in, of basically starting with a flat plate and then adding and then adding and then adding and then adding. This had some interesting twists and turns, some straightforward but well applied different types of building techniques, not a lot of repetition, and it was just enjoyable. At a couple of points I specifically noted that I didn't know where this was going. I didn't spend a lot of time looking at the box in advance, so when I got to a specific sub-assembly, I didn't know what it was going to end up being. You did a lot of things separate from the main base, and then major sub-assemblies start to come together to build this up. The exterior texture is a nice combination of studded areas and studless areas. I like that, and I like the combination of the two grays and also the dark tan. They feel random enough, and it just kind of blends together. It makes the tan not look quite as obvious and different to me as sometimes it can when it's done poorly. This actually has a compartment on the back that opens up, and there's quite a bit of space inside. They give you a little sled right now, a little tray that can come out that has a couple bones that you can feed to a Corellian hound or something, and then some extra shots. And then this is I guess just a place where you could put the bones to use them, use that as basically a dog food bowl, or you could imagine that that's for water. But that's pretty nicely set up. This is actually a staff. We'll see in the movie exactly how that is used, what the significance of that really is, but that's for Moloch himself. It's nice that they give you a little clip for a spot to hold that. There's no storage space in here, although this is a fairly sizable bulk space that's not solid inside, but they've got a gearbox in there instead, and the gearbox is just hooked up to this disc on the side, and that disc operates the 6-stud shooter at the front. So they've just got a couple of gears in there, changes the direction of motion and rotates the trigger mechanism here. It's not the easiest thing to turn. I guess the idea is that you get your finger like a thumb under here in this little bit of open space, but it's okay. It's okay. But I appreciate the fact that it's not too obvious from the outside. It almost looks like it could be an intentional in-universe design feature. And then over here is the little trunk space for a couple of Corellian hounds. So that just flips up, and there's nothing really holding it down. There's just a little cage. You just flip it up, and those two just sit in there or stand in there at the ready. And you also have a flip-up cockpit area. It's done exactly the same way. They didn't really give us a good clip for storing the blaster conveniently, but you could certainly put that in here or on this. You could clip it to one of those extra clips that you see on the right hand side, but I just put it in here, put the figure in here with the blaster. We'll take a closer look at him in a minute. He just stands up at the base there. It's connected with just a couple of studs, and there are no stickers in this set whatsoever, which means no console there. I guess they could have done that with a printed piece in there, but it's okay. I mean, most of the time you're not even going to see down in there. I think the shaping of this roll cage section is pretty perfect from what we saw in the trailer. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that at this scale. So overall, this was pretty fun to put together. I think that it does its job pretty well. It does all the things that it needs to do, plus a little bit in terms of play features, and certainly, if you don't like the bright studs here showing up at the front, just fire all of them off. Let me actually show you what that looks like. Yeah, this is a little bit, there we go, a little bit difficult to get to, but fire all those off, and see, that's not a bad look right there, just leaving the studs off without doing any modifications to remove the action feature that some people really dislike, especially when it gets in the way. But here, it just doesn't appear to take too much away from the look of the speeder on the whole. I like the depth back inside of here, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the build itself. It was cool to put together. Check out the instructions for it at the very least, free online if you are not particularly interested in buying this, but you want to see an interesting build, something a little bit different. Just peruse through that a little bit and check out the parts list. You won't find much interesting in the parts list, I think, but how this went together was pretty nice. Moloch himself is pearl dark gray or gunmetal gray through the body, that is the torso, the arms, and down into the legs. They use that relatively new piece for the legs, which flows really, really nicely, basically for the robe, I guess. It flows so nicely for this figure, works really great in this color, and the print is very good as well. I like the fact that they're able to put a print on the back of this piece, which I think they couldn't officially with the slope piece they used to use. This piece is the same height as normal legs as well, so the whole figure is close to a standard height. Dark brown for the hands, and the head is just a one-off. It's its own mold, it's its own thing. I think it looks pretty cool. I think that what we saw in the trailer so far for the actual character, it's a little bit more sharp looking than this to me, a little bit more, a little bit more striking, but it's a pretty complex setup that they did here with a lot of paint applications, and the printing is crisp. The dual molding is done pretty well for the tan and the gunmetal gray. That's also used for some of the larger sections there, and on the back there's just a little bit of not really that much, but a little bit of print on the back of the torso that wasn't as obvious as with the head on there. As I've mentioned a number of times before, this new piece that they use for the robe leg or skirt there is a little bit light in weight and also does not allow the figure to be leaned back. So if you try to stand him on the ground just like this, he is going to fall forward with the weight of the blaster, and certainly don't pull the blaster up, but you will want to use the staff to give him some support in the front if he's not on a studded surface. There's just not enough counterbalance there to keep him upright on his own. This second figure is Rebolt, or it could be pronounced Rebolt. I think it's Rebolt. I really like his face though. Very expressive. Has just the little extra markings in it that give it some extra life and some extra presence, just visually. He looks like he is really projecting his emotions through his face, which is pretty cool to see in such a simple little toy. The prints, I think, are really good. They're random enough as you go transitioning from the torso to the hip to the legs, that it looks like it's pretty well lined up. I mean, it's off as it usually is, but it looks much better. And I think it just works out pretty well. And again, with the dark pearl gray and the regular gunmetal gray, he's got the coiled whip in black here, and it's just taken off that headpiece, which was the same one that was used in Rogue One. Alternate face. I don't like that alternate face as much as I like the other one, but it's not bad. It's not bad. Very expressive eyebrows once again. The mouth feels a little bit lacking though. I almost feel like I wish there was a chip in a tooth just to change it up just a little bit. And then, as you already saw, we get two of the Corellian hounds in this set. They are identical. Don't expect to see any variations between these from batch to batch. I mean, there can be small changes, but I think these things are really cool looking. They look very mean. Would have been nice to get some articulation in them just a little bit, but they're so small that it probably wouldn't have made sense from a cost perspective, and maybe even from a design perspective. I don't know if they could have met the standard durability requirements that Lego has. So yeah, they're pretty small. So I think these look pretty cool, and it's nice to get a couple of them. I know a fair number of folks are looking forward to these things, so this helps you to get at least a suggestion of a pack. Overall, not bad. There's just nothing for me that really draws me to this that makes it a must-buy. Now, that may change after the movie actually comes out, if it's a really good movie, and if one or both of these characters end up being, really prominent, or this speeder has a really, really strong scene that is featured to the degree that it is in the trailer. It could just be in a very small opening sequence or something. We'll have to see. But I think everything is done pretty well here. The price to part ratio is very good, although that is partly offset in reality by the fact that they do include 12 stud pieces just for the stud shooter alone. But even if you kind of take that out of the equation, still the price to part ratio is pretty respectable. The price to volume of stuff, the price to size of stuff plus figures that you get ratio is not so great. Not so great. I understand it relative to other things. Just when I put this in my hand, it doesn't feel like I have $40 worth of stuff here. It's well done for what it is, but its overall size, I guess, is a little bit deceptive in a negative way, because there are a lot of parts inside, and a lot of pieces were used to make this a pretty sturdy and decently well detailed model that, if it was done to the standards of, let's say, 10 years ago, it would be much more flimsy. It wouldn't look as good, but it could have been sold for a lot less. So I get the price. It's another case where I question the value a little bit. I would love to see it just $5 cheaper in the US, and then I'd have no problems with it whatsoever. But that's it for my look at this set. Feel free to leave a comment down below if you have any thoughts that you would like to share with myself and the rest of the viewers, and I'll talk to you again soon.